Hey everybody, it's Boo Ray Perry from Tampa, Florida, and it is time for the second half of April Fuji X100 review. I want to say again, thank you so much to everybody who sent images. We're going to be doing things a little bit different this time than we have in the previous reviews, and I'm going to explain to you why. So, first of all, I got fewer submissions this time than I have on any of the other reviews that we've done so far, which surprised me because landscapes, I feel like a lot of people who watch my channel, they're hobbyists and they like to do a lot of landscapes. So I'm really expecting landscapes to kind of blow up, and when it didn't, I was surprised, and it makes me wonder if I'm losing listeners on this particular thing on my channel. So we're going to do one more, and then we're going to see how that goes, and then we'll decide if we keep this going. And the other thing that I'm going to do is, well, wait a minute. I don't want to get ahead of myself. Let's talk about the next one in case you're watching this and you didn't participate. The next one, the next review will be black and white. And I don't care what it's a picture of. Okay? It just has to be in black and white. But what I want you to do is I want you to think about the black and white. It's not just, oh, I like this picture, so I'll convert it to black and white and I'll send it to Boo-ray. No, what you want to do is send me a picture that works best in black and white. This is an image that black and white makes this image better. Now, it needs to be a good image to begin with, but then black and white makes it better. It helps you tell the story. It helps focus the viewer. Who knows? But that's what I want you to think about. The purpose of this next review is to get you really thinking about monochrome and black and white and using it as a tool to make your photography better. All right, so that's the next one, and all the rules will be on the website. And if you haven't participated yet, go to the website, read the rules. The link is right down below. Read the rules, and then submit your image for the next Fuji X100 review. Black and white. I'm having to keep it all up here. I don't have any notes. It's all up here in the steel trap that is Boo-ray. There is no off on the Genius switch, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so black and white's the next one. This one. Going through these images, I think there was like 15 of them. And again, the smallest amount I've gotten yet. Going through these images, I found myself on every image immediately seeing something that I would fix. Right? Something I would go, wait a minute, let's look at it this way, or let's look at it this way, or let's look at it that way. And by the time I was done picking out the ones that I wanted to talk about, there weren't that many left that I didn't want to talk about. And it wasn't that I didn't want to talk about them, it was just that I was having to try and narrow it down. And so I decided, here's what we're going to do this time. I'm going to show every one of them. So everybody's going to get their image shown, and I am going to talk about each image, but I'm not going to spend as much time praising the image as I have in the past because I want to get them all in. Before I've done like 5 or 6 images, and now I'm doing twice that many. So just know, if I'm looking at your image, the reason that I am showing all of the images is that every single one of these images had something. It had something that made me say, this is something or could be something, and I see what the person is trying to do here. I'm seeing intent, which is what I always want to see when I look at a photograph. So don't feel bad if I don't do a lot of time praising your image. Just know that you all sent in such great stuff that I couldn't knock anything out. Everything has to be talked about, and I want everybody to have a shot to see the thing I'm talking about. The other thing you need to know is that I'm not a great skyline landscape photographer. I mean, I do it as a hobby a little bit, but I'm not great at it. And when I judge competitions, it's one of the categories that when it comes up in front of me, I'm looking for certain things that I think, oh, this could be better or this could be better. But I'm not the best person when it comes to judging these, because a person who really dedicates their time to doing landscapes, they're going to see things that I don't see. It's the same with anything. I dedicate my time to doing a lot of different things, and I'm going to spot a problem in a headshot. I'm going to spot a problem in a wedding picture much faster than someone who doesn't do headshots and weddings. So this is not my best category, but you will see that I still can spot things that can make an image a little bit better. All right? Okay. This is always exciting. Here we go. Before we get started, let me just say thank you, thank you, thank you. Every person who submitted an image put their name as in the image title, exactly the way I asked you to do it, and I really appreciate that, because now I don't have to go in and put everybody's name into this actual video, which is great when you're showing so many images. It's just less work for me, and I really do appreciate that. So thank you. Everybody's name will be right at the bottom. You can see it. It's going to be right in the name of the image. All right, so let's start off with this image. When this image comes up, there's a lot to like here right away. I like the sunburst. I like the light and the way the light falls across the trail. I like the leading line. But immediately I see, when I look at images like this, and you're going to see this a lot when I talk today, cropping. Cropping is always a big thing. So what is distracting in this photo? Well, right over here, we've got the woman and we've got this sign. We don't need these in the photo. So if you can, wait until she's out of the shot before you shoot it. But you couldn't in this case. You've got it. Okay, we got to work with it, right? So here's the other thing. When you're taking pictures of trees, if there's a tree in your shot like this where it bisects most of the frame, it really cuts your image in half. So everything that's over on this side of the image over here is kind of detached from this side of the image. So a lot of times what you want to do most of the time is if you're going to have a tree that's going to bisect your whole frame like this, you want to have that tree be at the edge of the image with nothing between the tree and the edge of the image. So let's crop it that way. We'll grab the crop and we will drag it in. And let's crop it so the tree is at the edge of the frame and there's nothing on the left side. And then let's crop it some more so that we get the sign and the woman out of the shot. And this is what we end up when we crop it. Now, I think that's a better image because you are not distracted by the dead space to the left of the tree, and you're not distracted by the sign and the woman on the right, and you're able to focus in on here. The only problem I have with this image is that this light needs to be higher. Can we get that higher? We can. So let's get that like up in the corner. It'd be really great if I could put it right there, but I can't without catching the sign. So we're going to put it right there. Yeah, there you go. That's my crop. Do you think that's a better crop? That's up to you. Up to you to decide, and the folks in the comments to decide. But so many times you're going to see when I look at these images that so many times it's the crop. The crop is what I notice. Now, the other thing I notice about this image when I look, I say, this is great, but I also wonder, look at this over here. Look at this misty mountain thing going on back over here. So I hope that you were able to go over here and maybe try and get some of this because there might have been something really cool over here as well. But this is how I would have. Here we go. It's another crop situation. First of all, this image was shot at 12,800 ISO. So it was like almost dark. The sun's already set, as you can see. So it's going to be kind of grainy. But again, this is a crop situation. Watch what happens if we bring the crop up. Now watch where my lines are. See how my line is to the left of the Eiffel Tower? It needs to be on the Eiffel Tower. So the Eiffel Tower needs to be a little bit more to the left of its position. That is a better crop. And I know that seems minor, but it does make a difference. There's a reason that the rule of thirds exists, and it's because the human mind likes it. So this is a better crop. Now, this is also an image that because you're shooting at such high ISO, you're going to get a lot of grain. You can see some grain down in here, and it's going to be hard to recover things. It's going to be hard to recover, for example, this blown out part here without just getting more grain. So I like this old world feel, this film feel to this, and this may be the best way to show this image, but I'm hoping that you also went in and just messed around with this a lot. Well, actually you can't, because the rule is you can't take things out of your image and you can't take it into Photoshop, so fair is fair. But if this was my image, and you'll see this on a couple of other images I talk about. If this was my image, I would have absolutely pulled it into Photoshop and tried to grain it up or put an overlay on it or try to really do some creative stuff to it to make it stand out in a different way so that I could kind of hide the fact that it was shot at 12,800 ISO and it was really, really grainy. Now, you couldn't do that here, so I think this is the best thing you could do for this image, sending it to me. But if I was going to put this on the wall, I would mess around with it, and there's a very good chance that when I was finished messing around with it, I would come right back to this exact same picture. Now this one looks like it's been worked over a little bit. Like there's some color grading or something done to this image, because this is an awfully blue image, and I do like it. You know, I especially like all this clouds and everything. And this is another example of you got to wait until you get the shot that you want, because these two people in the shot distract. This is what's interesting. This sky and these buildings, maybe a little bit of this green, but there's a lot of elements happening in this picture. And I think it's too many elements, and it just distracts you from what you want to look at. So if you could have waited until these two people were out of your shot, that would have been good. Or if you could have just gotten her in the shot, because she's more interesting. So, you know, you weren't allowed to remove anything from your images. But if I was going to actually show this image or something along those lines, and I didn't have that rule, I would take her out. I'd probably take her out too. But this image might be interesting with just her in it, you know, because she's kind of interesting. But it would be hard to focus on her because there's so much going on up here. So many times with your images, you have to find the thing that you want people to focus on. It can only be one thing, maybe two things. And then you've got to figure out a way to take everything else and make it unimportant. I would have liked it more if this tree was higher. There's nothing you can do about that. A couple of different angles of attack might have made a difference. I don't know. But overall, I think it's a very interesting image. You know, I like this image a lot. Okay, so this is one of those samples where you look at this image and you go, oh man, there's a picture here somewhere. There's a picture here somewhere. I feel like the person who took this picture was like, okay, David was, I have no idea what drew you to this picture, David, but it might have something to do with the juxtaposition of yellow and blue. And there's blue up here, yellow, blue, right? There's a symmetry in your colors on this image. However, there's also just too much that is pulling me away from what you're trying to tell me with this image. This trash can over here, for example, and the car itself. I think the building is very interesting, but this modern car in front of this old building, maybe that's something you're trying to say with your image, but if you are, I'm not hearing it. Mostly what I see when I look at this image is there's got to be some images here. There's got to be something interesting here besides this big wide shot. First of all, the street being sloped makes it harder for you. The fact that these two trees are not identical, that this tree doesn't have any leaves and this one does, you lose your symmetry, and symmetry is always important. But when I look at this image, I'm like, what's going on down here with this basement window? Like, what if you took a shot and it was just this little spot right here where the basement window is? Or if the car wasn't here, what about this door? This red door. This is kind of interesting too. So this is the kind of building that I'd want to walk around and try and get close on some things and try some different things. But a good job of recognizing that this building has qualities. You know, this building is photogenic. You just have to find the image. Still, not a bad image. Might have been better cropped as a square. But still an interesting image. And that's the thing. Every image I'm going to show is interesting in some way or another. Nobody sent an image where I was like, well, that's just dull. It just didn't happen. And that's why I wanted to talk about every single one of them. Okay. This one's a little bit near and dear to my heart because you're doing something here that I actually really like. And I've been making this point in my head that I need to try and do this more because I want to actually take a plate of glass out, wet it, and shoot through it to get this kind of look. And I'm supposing in this situation that's not what you did. I'm supposing that you're shooting through the actual glass of maybe a train. And so that's why you got this look. And I like this look, right? So this is really cool. I love everything about it. I love the muted tones of the whole thing. I love the way everything looks blurry just because of the water when in fact it's not blurry. There's little pockets of sharpness that pop through, but then the rest of it is blurry. This is very nice. Now the one thing I will say, and again this has to do with cropping and composition, is that a lot of times if you're shooting like a tall tree or a tall building, you don't want to crop off the top of the building. So on this particular picture, you probably couldn't, I mean with the X100, there was nothing you can do. It's not like you can zoom out more. But looking at it, I wondered, what if you could have gotten, now you might not have been able to do it, but if you could have gotten back enough to get the top of this building, what about that? Right? If the top of this building, even without the top of the building, this is an interesting crop, but with the top of this building in, now it's just another way to crop this image. And you notice that when you do this, now the tracks and say way back here, the tunnel, they become more noticeable to you. More noticeable to the eye. If I was going to remove something from this image, I would take this tower out so that this alone occupied the sky. You got the thing that's tall and the thing that's round and the leading line. Those are your three subjects, like a still life in this image. That being said, this is still a lovely crop, and I like this image a lot, and I applaud you. I don't know if it was your goal to shoot through the glass and say, let me try and get this look, or if you were shooting through the glass because you had no choice, and then when you looked at it, you were like, hey, that's pretty cool. But either way, it is pretty cool, so good job. Okay, here we go. Studying symmetry. These canoes need to be a little bit more to the right so they're dead center. Good job here, how you got them, you're trying to center them right here with the bow in the mountain. But this is a good example of time of day. And if you want to shoot landscapes, know that if you're just out having fun and taking pictures, 99% of what you shoot is not going to be as good as it could be because you're not there at the exact moment during the day when you could get the shot you want. That's why landscape photographers are out before the sun comes up, is because they've got to figure out when the light's going to be best, and they've got to be there for it. And this is a perfect example. This shot would be much better if we didn't have this hazy background. If this was just a deep field and these colors were rich and vibrant and this sky was rich and vibrant, then this would be a much more interesting still lifestyle picture with these two canoes and then all this vibrant color here. But as it is, they pop more because this is not so vibrant. But you can't help but have your eye drawn up to this beautiful vista. Sometimes, I don't want to say you're stuck with this vista, but you are. You're not going to minimize these mountains to the point where, we're not going to notice them. So once we look at them and they're all hazy, it's disappointing because we want to look at them, right? So this is a good example of a wonderful attempt, and a good picture. If you're just out walking around and you see these canoes and you go, hey, I want to take a picture. I'll take a picture of these canoes. I'm seeing intent here. You're recognizing that putting them here, having them in this spot, the juxtaposition of the color, you're seeing the image. The next step is if you really want to make this image, you're going to have to get up at sunrise or sunset or 3 days in a row or something like that to get that you want. And my portfolio is just chock full of images like this where I get the shot and I go, I just wasn't there at the best time of day. Okay, great. Nice little bridge coming across. It's a classic shot. The way the tree doesn't intersect with the bridge right here and comes over it is lovely. The colors, of course, are lovely. It would have been great if you could have waited until this person was out of the shot. Because it's just distracting. You look at this color, look at this color, look at this color, look at this color, look at all these colors, and then here's this person in black and blue, right? They're just distracting to the shot. The bridge is the subject of this shot, not the person. So if you could have gotten her out, that would have been great. And also, we're blown out. We're really blown out up here. And there may not have been anything you could have been done about it being blown out. There's so many of the pictures that I'm looking at this time around are pictures where I go, in the circumstances that the photographer had, this is the best shot you could get. And that's something to be proud of because many people can't get the best shot. Oh, tons of people can't get the best shot. So be proud of yourself if you get the best shot you can in that situation because that's my life pretty much. But in a perfect world, this would not have been blown out, especially right here. See, I can see edges of these trees and stuff. Yeah. So if you could have shot this at a lower exposure so that everything was darker, then you might could have recovered this stuff here. But as it is, it's so blown out, there's nothing there to recover. Again, I'm like, ooh, guys out on the ice. There's solitude out there. There's so much space. So this is an image where when you take it, you look at it real quick and you go, okay, this sign has got to go. It's just distracting. And so is this pole, and so is this pole. And this is kind of a leading line, but not really enough of one to really dominate this image the way the mountain does. So what I've got to do is find a better way to shoot this shot. And when I look at this, I don't know what that picture is, but I know that if it had been me, I would have been trying to get my camera as high as possible to shoot down on them to see if I could just isolate them inside a field of pure white. I would have tried to get closer and get down low to make them be these small things in front of this giant mountain. I would have been moving around, and maybe you did. Maybe you've got 100 photos that you took at this location trying to find the best one, and maybe there is no best one. Maybe there just is no angle to be had here. But when I see this image, I imagine if all of these distractions were somehow removed, they would stand out so much more. And then this is so much dead space with nothing to look out up here. So what if the image had been something like this, and this stuff was not here, and somehow you could get below this ridge line and further back. I'm I'm asking too much, right? I'm asking too much. But again, you have to understand, I live in Florida, so when I see a picture like this, I'm like, oh, what can I do with this? This is a new fun thing. This is a new challenge. So yeah, there's a picture here. There's absolutely there's something incredible here. Maybe if you can find it, but it may be that you can't find it, and this is the best you're going to do in this situation. And good job for recognizing it and doing the best that you could do in the situation. I like to think though that you might have needed a ladder and a 10-foot pole to get the camera to where it would give you the best possible angle artistically. Yeah, I just don't know. But again, every image that we're looking at today, there's something in it that makes it worth talking about. So this one, I kind of passed over it the first time. I was like, yeah, texture, I get it. And this stand, I don't know what that is. And I kind of passed over it. And then I came back to it because I was like, what is this exactly? And then I started zooming in on it, and I realized, oh, I see. This is like a wall with a poster on it. And there's been a whole bunch of posters that have been put over top of each other. I'm guessing that's what it is. So what we're seeing is the remnants of all of these posters that have been put over top of each other over time. And that's when I realized that when I zoomed in like this and I could really see all this stuff, that's when the image became much more interesting to me. When I could see this bee up here, right? And when I could see this, where the stucco is coming away here, and really see this stand and see that, this is when the image became more interesting to me to look at. So, I think this is an image that needs a better crop. And I don't know what that crop is, but if you put, Stan in a corner somewhere, like that, that might be more interesting. Or if you did it horizontal and you just like that might be more interesting because there's detail here, right? There's things to see. What's going on here? And now you've got a focus point because this stand is big enough in the image. And I say stand, that's probably an H. I don't know what this word was. But now this is big enough in the image to draw my attention and to have a focal point for the image. But here, when you look at it this way, it's a focal point for the image, and there's something to be said for having a small focus point in a sea of nothing, right? We see this all the time in photography that's shot in cities and stuff where like it's a giant wall and just one little person, and that's great. But in this case, the problem is that the giant wall is way too interesting. There's so much interesting stuff here that my eye is going to be pulled away constantly from this thing that you've got right here. Either way, I would have put this in a different spot. I would have put it into one of the intersecting lines of the rule of thirds or something along that. And I would have liked to have caught that in. So I think the best crop for me might have been something like that. That might have been, yeah. See, I like that better. Because right away my eye is drawn to here and my eye is drawn to here. And I'm trying to figure out what this is. But this is an image that would make a great desktop wallpaper. Or you could blow this up big and put it on the wall, and it would just be interesting. People would look at it and go, what is this, right? So good job on that. Now also up here, like this may be a whole other picture up here in this corner. And it's a great, as you can see, I passed this picture over when I first looked at it. I briefly looked at it and I kept moving. And then when I came back to it, that was when I began to see all these details. That tells you it's a good image, but it just needs a better crop. It needs a better focal point. This is another one of those images where I'm like, okay, this is an interesting window, but you need a juxtaposition to make this window pop. So when you look at this wall and this window, I don't know if it was possible to do it, but what you really want is a big sea of wall with this window being the only thing in it. Then the window becomes really noticeable, and you get the dead space and the window, and you get this interesting still life look. But when you close in on it this tight, it becomes all about the window. And to me, the window's not as interesting that way. The window's more interesting if it's juxtaposed against something else. That being said, it's still, the more you look at it, the more interesting it becomes. It becomes abstract the more you look at it. And if you like abstract art, where people are minimalist abstract art, this has that flavor to it. So again, the fact that you recognize this that you see it and go, there's something there. That's 90% of the ball game when it comes to being a good photographer. It's just seeing that there's a photograph there, there's a good image there. I just have to find it. Another image. Let me pull this back some. Oh, let me go back. Did I have that scan pulled out all the way? Okay, I did. Want to make sure. Again, don't know if you did this on purpose or not, but it's interesting and I like it. This is the sort of thing you put on your wall, right? It's got an interesting look to it. Frame this up, mat it, put it on canvas. Interesting look. I don't know if you did this after that. I don't think you did because we weren't supposed to go into Photoshop. I don't know if you just shook the camera. I'm not sure, but it's interesting. It looks like a classic painting of some sort of expressionism art, and so I like it. I do. Might would have been a little bright over here. It's pulling me away from down here. So maybe if I could have got like this color's better. If I could have gotten this color more over here somehow, that would have been nice. But don't be afraid to try unique things with your camera, especially with the X100 series. It's so small you can do cool things. The desktop of my desk is just a sweep of colors. The desktop of my computer, it's just a sweep of colors, and I got that by using a slow shutter speed and sweeping the camera as I took a picture of all the crap that's on my desk. and then that sweep just became a really interesting abstract thing that I use for my desktop. So you're really exploring your artistic side when you start to do more stuff like that. Once again, there's probably 3 pictures here, you know, but the problem is that they're all being put together in one photograph. I could spend all day right where this photographer is, looking for things to take pictures of. This is such a great opportunity. It looks a little over-processed to me. Like you really brought the shadows up a lot. It looks a little artificial as a result of that. But here's the thing. And by the way, where is this? Because that looks like the footbridge in London. Is this London? I don't know. Andrew, go down in the comments and let me know. Images here, these people walking on the beach, that's an image. This crane over here, that's an image. This skyline, that's an image. But what I don't think really helps is this boat and this giant piece of water right here. You know, I don't think those things are that interesting. I think that what's more interesting are the details of this image, like there, or there, or there. That make sense? Right? That's where the images are. There's 3 of them in this shot. This one would be much tighter. Something like that. What would that look like? Let's see. Now, of course, you can see here it's going to be very grainy, and you know, but you get an idea for what I'm saying, how this becomes a more interesting image because you're isolating down to one thing that you want your audience to look at, and a juxtaposition between the thing you want them to look at and a huge dead space, just like the picture I was talking about a few minutes ago with the window. So yeah, there's a lot of pictures here, and this is a picture too. But mostly this is a picture that you look at it and you go, oh, there's the skyline, and you can look around and so forth and so on. But it doesn't, you don't know exactly what it is you're supposed to be looking at, because these people, you're going to pull your eye and you go, oh, am I supposed to be looking at these people? Because if I am, this is all way too much clutter. So cropping, I would say the number one thing that I see when people show me their pictures and want me to give them an opinion, the number one thing that I see is composition and cropping. How you can make your images so much better just by finding the image and cropping to it, or cropping away everything that doesn't help your image. I don't know where this is, but it's beautiful. That's a nice piece of art. This is one of those images where this may be the absolute best way to photograph this image. Yeah, you know, because when I look at it, I think it would be better if you could have gotten lower on the horses. But if you'd gotten lower on the horses, their heads would have come above the skyline here. I'm not sure that would have been a good idea. Or, you know, the skyline would have intersected with them, so that's not so good. If you get higher on the horses, then you lose this beautiful sky. And if you look at there you go. If you look at the horizon line, I mean, it could be a little lower, say there. I'm not sure that would have made it better. Maybe. Not not so much better that I'm willing to die on that hill, right? So yeah, good shot. You know, it's a little grainy. I don't know what the ISO is on this because you reprocess it, but you can see there's a lot of grain in the sky. Would have been great if you could have avoided that. Yeah, I imagine you've got so much grain because you're shooting at a really high aperture because you've got a deep, deep focus here. So I would have wondered, what if you shot this at f2? You know, what if you shot this at 4? You would have lost this grain. This would have all gone blurry, and the horses would have popped more. This is one of those images where you could just mess around with it and try different things to see if you get a different look. But when it's all said and done, you may not get anything that's as good as what you got. You know, so yeah, but nice. You recognize it. I think it's a good location. This horse is kind of hidden here. Your angle is pretty good except for that. But again, I don't know what the situation. For all I know, you're standing on the other side of a barbed wire fence taking this picture, and this is the best you could do. You know, so it's a good image. Don't get me wrong. It's absolutely a good image. And congratulations on saving the sky, because that's the thing in this picture. If this was blown out, it would have been the first thing I said. But congratulations on saving everything in this image. Field of dandelions. Okay, look at this picture. Remember I talked about the tree that cut your picture in half? Is there anything that's cutting a piece of this picture in half? Sure it is. It's right here. It's your horizon. You have a horizon line, and you have nothing on the other side of the horizon line that is interesting. Your picture is the dandelions. So let's make your picture the dandelions. That's the image. You see it? You see how now this has become, it's all about the dandelions? No distractions. You can't help but see the dandelions. Whereas if you look at it this way, now it gives you depth to the picture, but it's just not interesting. The eye travels up, and then when it gets to this, you're just like, oh, what's all this? I don't need this. No, the dandelions. That's what we want to fix. So if it had been me, I would have cropped in tighter on the dandelions, and then I would have probably tried to boost. There's not a lot of contrast here, and dandelions are white, so I would have tried to go in the levels maybe and bring the whites up more, bring the greens out more to make it really more vibrant and field in bloom sort of situation. But it's nice, yeah. It's definitely there's great work here in this image. Just a little bit of cropping, I think, would have made it better. And that's the last one. All right. So there we go. For the first time, I talked about every single image that was put in, and that's because we got fewer images this time around than we did in the other ones that we did, so I was able to do it. I don't want this to be something I do all the time. I want more images. I want people putting images in. So remember, the next one is black and white. Go to the website, link is below, and don't forget to follow me on Instagram, because my Instagram is funny. I post pictures and examples of my work, but I also just post funny memes and stuff like that and have conversations there. Be sure and join my group on Facebook. It's called Pro Photo Talk with Boo Ray Perry. And be sure and check out my gear page, and the link is in the description. And if you go to my gear page, everything I carry is there. And if you click on one of those links and you buy something, it helps me to support this channel. And I really do appreciate it. I'll be editing that part out. All right. Thanks for watching once again. Go out there and get yourself a black and white picture and put it in for the next review, and I'll see you soon.